Congrats, buddy.
Let us look at the subtopic on shading the region for linear inequalities. The question is, shade the region for x less than -1 and x greater than or equals to -1. First, we try to determine whether we're going to use a solid line or dashed line for those inequalities. As you can see here, this inequality symbol is less than without the equal sign. So we're going to use a dashed line. Whereas for this symbol is greater than or equals to with the equal sign. So we're going to use a solid line. Next is we try to plot the graph. So what we do here is we let x equals to -1 and plot the graph. As we learned before, when x is equals to -1 means that a vertical straight line is going to cross the x-axis on -1. So if here the first one is x less than -1. So here is the vertical straight line crosses the x-axis at -1. So since x is less than -1, which means that the x value are getting smaller and smaller. So we will shade the region on the left hand side of the dashed line. Let's look at the second question. X greater than or equals to -1. So we're going to use a solid line. This solid vertical straight line will cross the x-axis at -1. So the difference here is one is a dashed line and another one is a solid line. Both of them are crosses the x-axis on -1. So for this, the second example here, x is greater than or equals to -1 means that the value of x are getting larger and larger. So we will shade the region on the right hand side of the solid line. Let's continue with the second example. Shade the region for y less than or equals to 2 and y greater than 2. So for the first graph, this symbol is less than or equal to. So we're going to use a solid line. Whereas for this symbol, we're going to use a dashed line because this symbol is without the equal sign. Next, we let y equals to 2 and plot the graph. As you all know, for y equals to 2 means that a horizontal straight line will cut the y-axis at 2. So for the first example, for this one, y is less than or equals to 2. So a solid line will cross the y-axis at 2. For y less than or equals to 2, we will shade the region below the graph. For the next example, here is y greater than 2. So a dashed line will cross the y-axis at 2. So for greater than, we will shade the region above the dashed line. Next, shade the region for y less than x and y greater than or equals to x. So for this inequality sign, we're going to use a dashed line. Whereas for this inequality sign, we're going to use a solid line. So first, we let y equals to x and we plot the graph. If you still remember, y is equals to x is a identity line. So for y less than x, we're going to use a dashed line. So here is the dashed line. For less than, we're going to shade the region below the dashed line. For the second example, for this example, x greater than or equals to x, we will use a solid line. For greater than or equals to, we're going to shade the region above the line.